Welcome to Clap Back Get the Facts podcast, where we are providing you with the information you need to know about what's politically impacting Black women across the country. In a world filled with myth and disinformation, we provide you with the real. If you're a Black woman, representing Black women, or in the community with Black women, we are here to clap back and give you the facts. Thank you for joining Season 2, Episode 3, We Stand Up and Strike Back, how Black women are protecting their communities from attack. We'll be sharing the facts and dropping gems, so let's get ready to clap back at the facts.
Hello. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3, We Stand Up and Strike Back, how Black women are protecting our communities from attack. My name is Holly Holiday, and I am the host today of Clap Back Get the Facts podcast. Listen, women are showing up differently. Black women especially are showing up differently. And today's podcast is really about trying to kind of give you a little bit of insight into the ways that Black women are showing up. There is no doubt that we are tired. There is no doubt that we feel as though we have done the work. And most importantly, there is no doubt that we feel like we showed up for America. But as usual, America did not show up for us. And what that meant to us and the impact it had on us doesn't mean that we stopped fighting, but it does mean that our mindset has changed. It does mean that our activities look a little bit differently. And it does mean that our priorities may have adjusted. I actually had the opportunity to participate recently in an event put on by the group of women formerly known as Women for Kamala Harris, have now continued to do the work under the name Persist. And I'd like to share some of my comments from that event.
I wasn't expecting that. Thank you, Rhonda. That was very kind. And I would say I almost feel like I'm going to repeat what has already been said. So I'll start with something really simple. Ditto. And so beyond ditto, because I'm taking credit for everything that they said, I want to continue, I should say, with this idea of persistence. You may have heard that Black women are tired.
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yes.
You feel that? Well, I want to give you an explanation of what tired is, because I actually don't think that Black women have the market on tired. I just think that we had the audacity to say it out loud. And I hope some of you will learn from that and say it out loud some more. But what tired means doesn't mean that we're checking out and going home. What tired means is that we are acknowledging that the system that we have tried to support, that the tactics that we've tried to use are just inadequate in this moment. What tired means is that we're ready for something different, that we're ready for a system, a process, an environment that we helped build, because that way we know that it is built including us, all of us, in all of our different ways, in all of our different shapes, forms, attitudes, all of our different ages, all of our different ethnicities, and all of our different gender equality ways. Something that's built for all of us. And the reality is that the lesson that we really have learned is that we can't jerry-rig it, we can't amend it, we may have to just build it from scratch. Take the lessons that we've learned, take the understanding, really learn from our mistakes, and at the end of the day, just do better. So, thank you.
All right, that's me and all my glory and my hair looking much better than it does today. But don't worry, the beauty queens are on the way. And let's start by bringing my sister, Simone Henderson to the stage, followed by Chantel Mullen. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
How y'all doing today?
Hey.
And I told y'all they was going to be bringing the fly hair. I love it. Mine was in the video. So today, I thought it was important, and thank you, Simone, for helping us to find this, to really talk about what it has meant for us as Black women, to stay strong in the midst of all of this political oppression. Let's face it, we thought we had helped to build the coalition that was finally going to see not just us, but if we're being honest, America as it truly is, despite the fact that we had to fight through a lot of things that were very damning. Pretty much we continue to see that we are for democracy, but maybe democracy is not showing up for us the way we want to. And so this conversation is really about talking about the things that we're doing now. And I would like to say the plan on what's next is not fully written. I think there's a lot of pressure to jump into, let's do something now, let's do something next, let's do something fast. But I think we are going to be doing a few things now, but a lot of information gathering, a lot of listening, a lot of reflection, which is going to take more than just till March 20th to get it done. It's going to take us a little bit longer, but it doesn't mean that we are sitting down. And it doesn't mean that we're doing nothing. And in fact, in recent weeks, we have even seen, Black women take leadership around things like standing up for folks who've been misaligned, like Joy Reid and her show being canceled, and the We Need Joy campaign. We certainly have stood up and participated in things like State of the People, which was a broadcast to counterbalance the messages that were coming out of the administration for the joint address to the Congress. And of course, we are here on Clapback. And so I want to know from you all, what do you think we're doing that's different to kind of not just protect ourselves, but really protect the community from what is clearly attacks on democracy? It got heated. Okay. We don't know. We going home tonight.
No. I think in your video, you really spoke to it. Mm-hmm. I think that people are assessing. They're assessing relationships, value of relationships. They're assessing tactics. For some people, they are resting because some people have been grinding for a very long period of time. And so I think it's all of the things that you have said. And folks really are stepping back and reassessing.
Yeah.
What I also think folks are looking for, given that there is a sentiment brewing that allies and just folks in general let Black women down. I think Black women, if you look at historically speaking, if you look at the movements, Black women are usually there supporting those movements in a lot of numbers. And folks have just said, nope, let us see what you got. Let us see what your tactics are. Let us see what your strategies are. Let's see if you are able to move the needle. And so I think there has been this, oh my gosh, you're not coming to help. No, we're not. Not in the traditional sense. I think our help is we're going to, it's kind of like letting the kid have the keys to the car. We're gonna let you have the keys to the car. You drive right now, and we're gonna be in the passenger seat to see
Mhm.
where you take us, because there are other groups out there. Let me see if I can put this tactfully. I don't know if I'm tired, so I don't know if I have a lot of tact. You know, Black Americans have been the number one minority for in terms of population in this country. And we have gotten to the point where there are other minorities passing Black people in terms of just sheer population numbers. And so one of the things that Black Americans have done is push this country towards what it has in its constitution, which is all men are created equal. Because if we are really acknowledging what's in the Constitution, equality was not there. Not when in the founding documents you had some people who were 3/5 of a human,
That's
3/5
right.
of a person. So, and women couldn't vote, and women weren't counted as people. And so Black Americans really have pushed. If you look at the history in this country of almost every movement, it has been built off the back of the civil rights movements and pushes of Black people. And so the question now becomes, if Black people are no longer the number one minorities in this country, who's going to take up the mantle and push? Or is that even your concern? Is actually the question I think people are asking. I was in a room and someone said, you know, when we start talking about values, ask them is race and you know, race, how people of different races, but particularly Black people are treated is part of your value. And you can figure out if they're an ally or not. Because if they, you know, what gets written is what's important. If you are not in their value system, do not be surprised when they make decisions that don't include you.
Simone, what are Black women doing to show up in this moment?
You know, I think
or not.
That's right.
And I was gonna segue into that by going through and not to get to what we are doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what Chantel said about Black women not showing up in the traditional sense really kind of encapsulates what this moment is. Because I think back to, if we just the last 4 or 5 years, Biden, Harris, and we spoke about it last year before Vice President Harris became the nominee, even when we were speaking about President Biden, about just the amount in which people were putting their bodies, their mental health, their time away from their families on the line to advance certain things, to advance the betterment of their communities and whatnot, and how that has essentially been taken for granted. That's the expectation of what is supposed to be done. So when we have this conversation and you talk about, you know, being a part of the systems that are built, building something from scratch, learning from our mistakes, in your remarks, I think that means that Black women are saying, if I'm going to take a weekend to spend with my family and not go on the road, then that's acceptable now. You expected Black women to disregard and put aside every other aspect of their life to show up for this fight and it be taken for granted. And so what I think Black women now are doing, very much to your sentiment, Chantel, is they are saying, I will sit in the passenger seat and you see what it's like for Black women. You make the sacrifices that Black women have made. And if it is important to you as you say it is, then you will do the same things that we've done for decades. You will miss that time. You will be tired. You will go from airport to airport. You will live on the road out of a carry-on suitcase.
Okay, now come on and preach.
Is it personal, Simone? Is it
personal? So let's see that. So I think, but I don't think that deters anything from what we're doing for our communities. because I don't think Black women, when we say we take a step back, we know Black women, Black mothers, you never get a day off. Somebody always needs you, whether it's work or personal. So I think how we're feeding and nurturing the communities that actually support us, that we know need support firsthand, I think we're starting to see that. I think we are internalizing that we've given so much out. How do we now give so much inside? And I think, you've heard these negative comments that weren't necessary, the mis and disinformation that, people only show up when they're ready for your vote. And I think that we have recentered ourselves to make sure that people see us 365. We were already present 365, but we want to be as loud as we are during GOTV, now 365, regardless whether or not there's an election, and doing that for our communities rather than everybody and everybody else cousin.
Well, and Simone, I think you brought up a very good point about taking for granted, because, there's always this sentiment that certain groups are taken for granted during the election time. But what I think we're also seeing is certain other groups have taken the work of Black women
for granted.
And that Black women are a real driving force around a number of things, because some of the stuff I'm seeing happen, it would look totally different if Black women were at the helm of it. I can see that, the lack of coordination, the lack of organization, and lack of mobilization, because Black women have formed a lot of networks and connections and systems that just, other people have taken for granted and leveraged in their own issue fights.
Yes.
I think that's right. I mean, I liked what you said there, Chantel, especially, but I think the unique proposition that Black women tend to bring is the thing that the administration fights against the hardest. And that is, we recognize the value of inclusion, that we recognize how to build these coalitions, and that, the only thing the right has ever really done is to fracture and put leverage at the point of our weaknesses in order to divide us. And I think what we are seeing is what it looks like to be fractured. And part of why I think mentally why we're showing up differently is really to say, we've been seeking to build, to support and mend these fractures for years. Now it is your turn. I know that I think the DEI fight, while it's not completely about DEI, but it certainly is a case study in our other people showing up for us. And there's no place that we see this more, I think, in terms of when we look at lawsuits and the courts. I think that's a clear way where we can see our people showing up and fighting for us to be a coalition. Not just about Black women, although I think Black women have played a significant role in holding those coalitions. But are you fighting for Black women to be in spaces where they've never been? Are you fighting for Black women to expand and grow their leadership in unusual places? And it doesn't really matter whether you're fighting for it or not. It is happening. But I think it would go a long way towards repairing some of the fissures to have some people fight back. What role do you think these legal actions are having in that regard?
I'm gonna jump in before the lawyers get to speak.
I'm not gonna speak behind
y'all, so I'm gonna jump in first.
Look, I just play one on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Go ahead.
What came to mind as you were saying that was, I think when we hear the sentiments of where Black women is, because I think with these lawsuits, when you hear the dog whistle of DEI, when we heard the dog whistle of critical race theory, what is woke, what is DEI, what is Black Lives Matter, all of those different cultural things, that they created pathways for other minority groups to advance things that supported their community, but it was done with Black women and Black bodies having to lead that fight.
Mhm.
And when we step back, then that means they're the first in line to do that. And it's been a long time since they've had to be the ones. So when we see the rollback of DEI, we know that white women are the ones that benefit the most from it, by demographic standpoint. And
Yeah.
when Black women take a step back, who becomes the most susceptible? So I think it's like, wait a minute, if you aren't fighting this fight, then that means I have to fight. I'm the most vulnerable now. And it's like the allyship piece that you pick up is really important, because I think in these lawsuits, as long as the lawsuits are framed as a dog whistle to Black, then I think we don't necessarily see the same folks showing up. But when we know that Black people are going to take a step aside and say, you're going to have to put your dog in this fight too, then I think then that's when you see the all hands on deck for these lawsuits coming forth, like
Yeah.
we haven't seen in recent years.
Yeah.
Well, I think the lawsuits are exposing some things because, DEI has been used as a dog whistle to mean Black folks. But what I find interesting is when you see the people who are on, particularly the local news, talking about they have been put out of jobs. That first wave of job cuts that happened, it was quote unquote DEI. But you know who was on TV? White women. You didn't see Black women out there. And so people started to realize, oh, this means me. And I
Yeah.
think across the board, a lot of people, and I say it this way, everybody is not going to get it.
Yeah.
And, everybody ain't meant to get it. But there's some people who are waking up today and realizing that DEI meant veterans.
Farmers,
Disabled
Farmers.
people.
it meant everybody.
That it meant some other people.
Oh yeah.
That diversity actually meant diversity, and that diversity included some other folks, because the tactic that has been used is to equate the word diversity to Black people, and diversity does not mean Black people. It just means diversity. And that diversity can mean a whole number of things. And so there are some people have woken up in the last 30 to 50 days to realize, oh, I'm DEI. They've woken up to the news that they think that you are fraud, waste, and abuse. They've woken up to the news that they think that you're the terrible government worker or the swamp. They thought that meant other people. There are folks on that who thought about immigration that said, oh, I thought they were talking about someone else. And they're realizing that they're the immigrants that they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that this has all been, I hate to just keep saying, a wake-up call for some folks. And I think there will be a light bulb is turning on for some folks. And I think the fact that Black women have stayed out of it has helped that light bulb come on. Because if we had become the face of it, which is what they were trying to do, we have not become the face of any of those fights lately.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's
and reality is, while we are a part of the fight, it's not even really our fight. I mean, we recognize that it certainly has an impact on us, but it's not as much as our fight as it should be, and is in fact other people's fight. I mean, we even see this with the federal government terminations, right? They terminated people and then realized they had terminated all these white people, and all of a sudden, I'm not saying it's because of race, because we don't have that data, but it is mighty curious that when all the white people started saying, oh my God, we're out of work, that they decided that it was time to bring everybody back. I mean, just say it.
right.
So as we kind of close out here, I want to leave people with something that is important that you think Black women can do in this moment. What should, I'm gonna phrase it like this. I was kind of gonna phrase it in terms of protecting the community, but I'm gonna phrase it in terms of, your thoughts on what you think Black women should be doing right now. What should Black women be doing right now?
I think Black women recenter and refocus the efforts that we've not only continued to show our community, but that we've given the world. I think we begin to bring that more centralized. And because I think that there are things within the community that need healing. And I think we have the great ability to focus the time and dedication towards that. And so I think that that's a great aspect, that when we integrate ourselves into the system that we are helping build. No one said we are hands off, that we are helping build, that we show up in a greater, more united front than we have in years past.
Yeah. Chantel, your thoughts. What should Black women be doing right now?
That whenever anyone asks them, what are Black women doing? Ask them, what do you plan on doing? It's not, don't worry about what I'm doing. I just need to know, what are you bringing to the table? I just think that's the question. What do you plan on doing about it? Yeah. Don't ask me. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what you plan on doing, and then I'll decide what I'm gonna do. After you tell me what you're gonna do.
You asking the question, who all at the party, for you decide to go.
Who are gonna be there?
All right. Well, Simone is going to ask the women to rest and reflect, while Chantel is asking people to listen and figure out if the list is right. Did the right people get invited to the situation, and are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? And I will round it out by saying, take care of yourselves. Make sure that your finances are healthy, because you may need that. Make sure that you are aggressively saving. Make sure that you are taking radical care of your health, because the stress is a killer. So make sure you are doing all of those things in Simone's bucket. And finally, I think the biggest thing that Black women should be doing is preparing for what's next and what's going to be different. Take time to learn a new skill or invest in a skill that you are already doing to be the best at it. Continue to seek Black excellence in all the things that you choose to turn your attention to. And think about what happens when a society is torn down. What do the people need? And how can you be a part of building what may be an opportunity for a new reality, and what those things look like? And I think it's a gamut of things that we should all answer for ourselves. So relax and relate, reflect, ask lots of questions about what the others are doing, and prepare for the future. I think that kind of rounds it out, ladies.
We hit it.
All right, then. This has been another happy, joyful, we ain't taking it no more edition of the Clap Back, Get the Facts. We're standing up, we are striking back, but we are doing it in new and different ways. Join us again next Thursday when we drop our next podcast. The sisterhood is always watching, always reflecting, and now always preparing. Till next time.
Thank you for joining us here on Clap Back, Get the Facts podcast. We hope that you're leaving feeling more informed and ready to provide others with the facts. We would love to hear your biggest takeaways from this episode, so post the show on your Instagram story and tag us at Sisters Lead. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, please leave a review so others can get some sense of the facts that we're providing. Finally, if you would like to learn more about local resources and other projects we're working on, go to sistersleadsistersvote.org.